Hi there and welcome. My name is Nicole with morningchores.com, and today we have a really packed video. We are going to be discussing seed storage. I'm going to show you how I take inventory of my seeds, make a list of what I need to order for this year's gardening season, and I'm also going to share some of my top favorite seed companies to order from. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, grab a piece of paper, a notebook, pencil, so you can take notes, and let's get started. If you missed the previous video, I highly encourage that you go and watch that first. I'll have it linked in the description box below. But in the last video, I showed you how I plan out my garden for the upcoming growing season. I showed you how I make a list of staple items, things I need to improve upon, and new things I want to try. And I also showed you how I draw out my garden. So I really encourage you to watch that first, because this video is a spin-off of that video. So I really recommend that you watch that. So take a few minutes, go check that out, and we'll see you back here in a little bit. The first item to unpack is seed storage. What is the best way to store my seeds? The key is you want to keep them in a cool, dry place. We do not want our seeds to become damp. If they become damp, then they probably won't germinate when I go to plant them. So that is the key ingredient to storing your seeds. So there's lots of ways that you can accomplish this. The first step is you need to find a place in your home that is cool and dry. This might be a cabinet someplace on your first floor. You can store them in the basement. You just want to make sure that your basement is not damp. That's the big key. The second item to figure out is what type of vessel to keep your seeds in, just because you want to keep them away from dampness. Some people just keep their seeds in their original packets that they come in when they purchase them. This is fine as long as the place you're storing them is cool and dry. I would not recommend this if the room that they're being stored in has any level of dampness or humidity. So this works okay, it just depends on the circumstance. I've also seen where some people will get the binders and they'll use the plastic page protectors and they'll stick their seeds in there. That's another really cheap way to store your seeds. And the nice thing about doing it in the binder is you can alphabetize them so that they're really easy to find. Another option is using glass jars. You can use little glass mason jars. This one already has a lid on it, which is nice for storage, so I don't have to go find a lid. It's right there with it. And these are easy to label too. You can label them with a label maker, or I even used a Sharpie right on the glass. It stays on there enough so that you know what it is, but then if you want to wash it off, it washes off just fine. Another option that I've used in the past is using these little plastic containers. These are actually meant for jewelry making and bead storage, but I found that they work really nicely for seed storage. The only problem with these is that they're very small, so you can only fit so much in them. So it's probably not my favorite way to store seeds, but it is an option. And you can purchase these sets at any craft store, and I'm sure you can find them online. The first step is to review our list curated in the last video. I'm going to review my list so that I'm aware of what I need to look for as I take inventory. Now that I've reviewed my list, I'm ready to take inventory. I'm going to pull out all of my seeds and group them into categories. This way, it'll make it so much easier for me to see exactly what I have and what I don't have. Once I have my seeds organized, I'm going to categorize the seeds from oldest to newest. That way, I use the oldest seeds first. So using my list here, I'm going to go ahead and take inventory. I'm going to write my inventory down in my journal. I mentioned this in the previous video. Some people keep gardening journals. I just keep a generic journal that I write everything in. But I'm just going to write in here what I have and what I don't have. And it's just another frame of reference that I can use next year if I need to come back and say, what did I do? What did I order? What did I not need? You know, it's just another way to keep track of things. So when you are taking inventory and you realize you have a lot of something, like in my case, I have a lot of lettuce, you want to make sure that you're using up packets that have already been opened before you open up new packets. So this packet has already been opened, so I want to make sure that I use this up before I open up a new package. And I have a couple of those, So I'm gonna put these at the top of my list for using up for this year. So that way I can just get through them and get them used. And then I'll have these nice brand new packets to use next year. Another tip I want to give that I do in this little step of garden planning is I like to take the seeds that I'm going to plant for this upcoming growing season, and I like to store them in one place. So I'm going to actually temporarily use this drawer to store them, and I'm going to keep them in a handy spot so when it's time to start my indoor seeds or plant my lettuce, I can literally grab this drawer. I already have everything organized and ready to go, so I can just find those seeds that I need to use and to pull them out, plant them, and then I can actually put them back in the proper drawer when I'm done using them. So the first thing that I usually plant outside is lettuce. And I have all these packets that have been half used. So my goal is to try to use a lot of this up this year because some of them are getting old and they just need used. So I'm gonna put these right in the back here. And as I go through my inventory and pick out what I wanna plant, I'm gonna fill this drawer up. So that way when it comes time to plant, it'll just be so much easier. I'm not gonna have to sift through all these drawers to find which packets I want. I can literally just come to this spot, get what I need, plant, and be done. So all of these lettuces that I'm not planting, these are all unopened packets. I'm gonna place back in the top drawer, which is my lettuce drawer, and they're just out of sight, out of mind, and they'll be ready to go for next year. Now I'm going to finish up my list and get the rest of these seeds organized. So now let's talk a little bit about seed companies that I use and what I kind of look for. It's definitely personal preference. I personally only like to use non-GMO, heirloom, organic seeds. I don't mind using some hybrids. The only thing with hybrids is that you can't necessarily save seeds from your hybrids. You can, and you can plant them in the next growing season. You're just not gonna have a guarantee of what's going to come from that seed because hybrids are basically where two plants have been cross-pollinated to make a new breed. So you're just not sure what you're going to get if you save seeds from hybrids to plant them in the next growing season. So I try to stay away from hybrids, but I do use some hybrids just because they usually grow very, very well. They're kind of like a foolproof non-GMO type of seed, which is really helpful because the heirloom seeds are much more finicky. If your soil isn't healthy, then the heirloom and the organic seeds will not be as successful. That's just what I've learned from my own experience. The first company I'd like to recommend is Lake Valley Organics. All of their seeds are organic, making it very easy to navigate their products. The company that I order my seed potatoes from is called Carter Farm Organics. They have amazing seed potatoes that have done really well for me. Unfortunately, they are completely sold out right now, so if you still want to order seed potatoes, you can order them from Fedco Seed as well as Johnny's, which I'll be discussing here shortly. Another company that I order from quite a bit is Johnny's Seed Company. This is a pretty well-known seed company, and they sell all different types of seeds. So if you are specifically looking for organic in this catalog or on their website, I'm sure it's easier to navigate on their website, but they have an OG symbol right next to their seeds, and that means that they're organic. But they sell hybrids, they sell non-GMO, heirloom, and everything I've ordered from them has grown really, really well. So I highly recommend them. But like I said, you've got to navigate a little bit more through their product list to find the types of seeds that you want to grow. The last company that I order from on a regular basis is Fedco Seeds. It's a seed co-op out of New England, specifically Maine, and everything I've ordered from them grows really, really well. So I would say if I had to rank my seed companies from being the most successful to the least, these two are my most successful, Lake Valley Organics and Fedco, and then I would say Johnny's, but Johnny's is right up there as well. I mean, I really have good success with these three companies, and other than the Carter organics that I get my potato seeds from, these companies all just do really well for my area. Now I'm sure it depends on your growing zone. I'm in grow zone 6, so that's another thing you have to think about is your grow zone and what seeds work for your grow zone. So for example, I've noticed if I order seeds for my grow zone that's different from mine or lower than mine, for example 5 and under, the seeds do not do as well in my area. And I think it's just because seeds adapt to the climate in which they grow. So if you're buying seeds from a slightly warmer climate and then you try to grow them in your colder climate, they just won't do as well. At least that's what I've found. So keep that in mind. Make sure you find out what your grow zone is and then where the seed company is that you're ordering from and go from there. Just to give a recap, we reviewed our list from our last video, took inventory of our seeds to see what we had and what we didn't have, made an order list, and then scoped out seeds from some of my favorite seed companies. Stay tuned for the next upcoming video where I demonstrate how to start seeds indoors. We already have a video on the channel about this, so I'm basically just going to give a refresh on the topic and share some new tips that I've learned along the way. Make sure that you also head over to morningchores.com where you'll find more information on gardening, homesteading, and sustainable living. I hope you guys have a wonderful week and we'll see you on the next video.